Welcome to the video Vort for Parshat Naso. In this week's Parsha, the Torah tells us of two fascinating stories. One is the story of the Sota, the wayward wife, a woman who's accused of adultery. Then right next to that, God tells us the story of a Nazir, a man who has decided to live in a higher level of existence, a whole different plane, distancing himself from wine and from the impurity of the dead. Why did the Torah put these two stories right next to each other? What's the lesson that we're supposed to learn in this contrast? Rabbi Victor Miller was a well-known posek, rabbi, and Musar personality in New York. One time, his family found him in the kitchen, right by the kitchen sink, which was brimming with water. Before anybody could ask him what was going on, Rabbi Miller, who was then in his 80s, dunked his head in the water and held it there. For 5, 10, 30 seconds. He comes up gasping, water dripping down his beard, and he goes back in again. And again and again. When he's finished, he collapses into a chair, and the family surrounds him. And they say, Zaidi, Tati, why'd you do this? What's going on? And he said, I was walking on the streets of New York. And my friend turned to me and said, Rabbi Miller, the pollution here has gotten to be so bad I can hardly breathe. And for a moment, said Rabbi Miller, my appreciation for air, for the oxygen that fills my lungs, waned. And I ran home, I filled the sink, and I went through this whole process because I wanted to taste that sweetness of air again. I want to have that appreciation for the gift that God gives me every moment of my life. Rabbi Miller had used that opportunity to propel him to new levels, an avodas Hashem, of being connected to Hashem and for being grateful for Hashem's gifts. This, say Chazal, is the story of the Nazir. Anybody who sees the Sota in her kilkul, in her collapse, in her failure, has to take the medium which brought her to that state, wine, and use it to bring him to the next level, to give himself to a higher level, a level of greater connection to Hashem. Good Shabbos.